this is what it takes to wear the sweater to talk to you about in this upstairs room in spring in Texas. It's just really warm. So, cold drinks, sweat mustache. All right, I'm ready to go. Hi, I'm Michelle. This is my so-called handmade life. This is a knitting, crochet, craft, whatever podcast where I talk about whatever I feels like and you talk back to me. I ask you questions, you answer, you ask me questions, I answer. It's as much like a little knit night in my living room with you as I can find via YouTube. So let me just go ahead and talk about my Guthrie sweater so that I can take it off. I knit this I probably started this in 2019. And I don't know what the hang up was. I've had it finished probably a year. And then I wove in ends sometime in the last year. I think it was like one sleeve I had left to finish or something. And then there was the ends. I think also when I knit this, I think I've gained weight since then. Maybe not. This feels very fitted to me, but it's also like warm, and you know how I like freak out if like fibers touches my body, you know, when I'm hot. I was always that child who freaked out when my mom would try turtlenecks on me, you know. And like you get halfway with the turtleneck, halfway off, and then you panic, you know. This is actually the fit I see most of the projects on Ravelry with. And this fits. This isn't too tight at all. It's in my head. I would like a little more ease in my sweaters. So that possibly is why I didn't bother finishing it. I don't know though. Anyway, I made this with, I think dyed in the wool was the suggested contrast color. I don't remember what the sample's main color was. I was just going to use Stash for that. I had some Wool of the Andes Sport and Fedora. It's a brown colorway. I thought I would use that, and Mississippi Marsala was my favorite spin cycle color when I would just look at the website. That was like my favorite one. And I saw that it would take about 3 skeins, and I felt like that's not a bad investment. Just 3 skeins of this yarn, because it's a little pricier. And then I can use Stash for the rest of it. But when I got them and I put them together, I just didn't feel like there was enough contrast. And I saw that Patty, and I might have a link to her Instagram photo on Instagram, she had a natural background. And I believe she had used the same colorway, Mississippi Marsala, and it looked so good and vivid. I just love that graphic contrast. So I went digging in my stash for some sport weight natural colored yarn. I didn't have it, but I did find some Cascade 220. I think Craftsy was becoming Blueprint, and they were kind of offloading all of their Cascade, and it was like $15 for 6 skeins. Which I don't even know if I really used 6 skeins for this, but that is what my notes say. I know there was some left over. I just don't remember how much, and that's the problem, you know, with waiting a couple of years to talk about something after you've made it. But this was an enjoyable pattern. I didn't do anything to alter it. My one concern was running out of this contrast color. And so a lot of people, if you look in the Ravelry projects, I'm gonna show you the color where it goes all the way down, and I love this twisted cable rib. I thought, well, I can always crop it if I start to run out of this yarn, and that way I can just match my sleeve to wherever I stop the sweater, and that's that. Or I could go all the way down with the sleeve and just have a cropped body, kind of like my Soldotna. Or I thought I could do what some people did. They just stopped the color work after the yoke and they made the sleeves plain. Or they stopped after the yoke and they did a color block of natural or main color, and then they had this little bit at the bottom of the sleeve. So a lot of people did some ingenious things to make this pattern work with whatever amount of yarn they had, or to kind of balance out a more expensive yarn with, say, Stash yarn or budget yarns. I thought that was really smart. Some people even made it like a short sleeve sweater. So I ended up having enough to do the whole body. I kind of wish now I had done a size larger, but It's fine. It fits. It's not a bad fit at all. It's not uncomfortable. It's just summer in Texas. The whole time I made this, the inspiration for the Guthrie sweater, I believe, was Woody Guthrie and his music. And I thought about his music. But, you know, some of his songs, you know, they're like traditional folk songs. You know, a lot of us grew up hearing them. But have you heard Mermaid Avenue, the Billy Bragg Wilco collaboration? They made that album maybe in 1998. I think I heard it in 98 or 99. And Woody Guthrie's daughter had collected some of his lyrics for songs he never published. He couldn't read music or write it, but he would write his lyrics down and just keep the music tucked, you know, in his head. Well, after he passed away, his daughter found these lyrics, and she enlisted Billy Bragg to collaborate with someone and bring the music to life. And I suppose that Woody Guthrie was, I believe, a socialist, and Billy Bragg is, and I don't know, their political leanings were similar, and that's why she went with Billy Bragg. And he got Wilco to do the music with him, and it's really good. The first Mermaid Avenue album is very good. I have the second, but I didn't listen to it as much, and I've never heard the third. But when I was working on this, I thought about the song California Stars, and that always makes me think of our family road trip to California. And it was just it's a super moving song because of that. Also, I'm going to link everything in the notes and on my blog. But Hoodoo Voodoo, it's like a song he wrote about his children, his relationship with them. It's just a silly kids type song, and the whole thing, the music, everything, it sounds so much like little children's rambunctious behavior. It's like the soundtrack to my memories of so much of my children toddling around and growing up. So anyway, that's what I thought of the whole time I worked on Guthrie. Now I'm going to take it off. Oh my gosh. Freedom. Oh, I never felt so good about a ratty t-shirt in my life. All right. Okay, so we finished Recycle, Reknit, Remake, Make Along, and Pat won over on Instagram. She is Cincinnati, and I've told you before about what she made. She had a Felix pullover that didn't fit her. She ripped it back, reknit the whole thing in a different size, and added that little raglan lace detail on the sides for like a little flourish. And I randomly picked from all the people who had entered photos, every photo they entered into the knit along, and I chose Pat. So she probably has received her giveaway by now, and Pat, let me know, tag me with what you make with that Crystal Palace yarn, because I'm excited to see what you come up with that mohair. It's such a beautiful color. Okay, here's my latest reknit, remake. Recycle, reknit, remake, whatever. It's no longer a giveaway, but I'm just going to keep using the hashtag. I told you I had several things I wanted to accomplish, and I've shown you the ones that I have, all the recycled yarn. I told you I had a lot of recycled t-shirt yarn. I'm going to hold up some here. These are the typical colorways that I had. Now, I thought it would be easy. It's never easy. Lots of blues, greens, grays, things like this. It's still pretty contrasty, but these are the t-shirts I kept. Kind of just thinking maybe it'll be a project. I thought maybe a little rag rug that I would crochet for my son's room. So he's like totally an adult now, and I've been keeping this yarn, and he does not want a crocheted rug, but whatever. I had two balls that were red like this, and I didn't think I would probably mix them with the others. They're such a vivid bright red, and I wondered if I could make a clutch or some kind of market bag or something with them, crocheting them. And I talked to you about some patterns in the last episode, but I didn't have enough for any of those. I didn't feel confident that I could do it, and this actually came up in space, some places just really thick. So what I decided to do was make a half moon crossbody bag. And this is from Miriam Masindu. And I'm going to show you her picture. I made a mini version of this, but here is her Ravelry photo. And she offers this pattern for free on her website. Also, she has a free YouTube tutorial on how to do it. And that's something I've never really done, was YouTube patterns via a tutorial. I tend to just like to read the pattern and do it, but you know, I'm not very skilled with crochet. And I went ahead and bought her pattern because it's very inexpensive, and I feel like for offering that much pattern support with a tutorial, good grief, $1 is what it costs on Ravelry. If you use her pattern, buy her dollar pattern on Ravelry. Certainly it is worth more than that to have her very good video tutorial. So I thought, well, I'll start making this bag, and as I look like I'm going to run out of yarn, I'll stop. You know, you have to make 2 sides, so they're little half moons, and then you sew them together. Normally I would do it with all the same yarn. But as I started working, I was like, man, I'm almost out of the second ball. This is 2 medium or small size t-shirts worth of yarn. I should be able to do almost the regular size of this bag, and I could have. This was buried in my knitting bag. I didn't see it, so I made a very mini crossbody bag. This could have been, it could have come out at least this much more. Ugh, I'm frustrated, and I found this like today. But this was still a really fun experience, and it let me play around, and I always feel a little freer to fiddle with stuff when it's new to me, like crochet, because I'm like, I get impatient, I just want to make it, which can lead to a sloppy project, but also to me is very creative and fun. That's how I started learning to knit, and it just gets your creativity flowing to kind of get in there and fiddle with things. So I used her pattern. I did like 2 repeats on each side. Then I didn't even think I had enough. I thought I would have to use a slightly off color red to seam them, and I didn't really want to do that. Yes, I could have, but I didn't know. So I found this leather lacing that was left over from, I made a strap for a knitted bag like decades ago. And I also I needed lacing for some deck shoes. So I don't know which this is from, but I had plenty of it. And I just used it instead to seam the sides. I really think it's cute. And then I said, well, okay, so how am I going to do the little loops? I think it would look weird to do them in the lacing, and I just wasn't sure how I would do it. And I found these little key rings that from leftover projects. You know, you buy a little package of key rings to make a few, and you have extra ones. So these little leftover key rings, they look like hardware for a purse. And then I already had this crossbody strap from Lion Brand website. I use this on my canteen crossbody bag from Alexandra Tavel. I still haven't found a fix to make that more of a stiff structure. But what I liked about this bag, because the t-shirt yarn is so thick, I mean, look how this really does have a canteen look. It's puffy, it holds its shape, and it's just the nature of the t-shirt fabric. I'm really excited to do this again, a larger size with a full amount of yarn, like to make the full size, like in her photo that I showed you. Oh, and then I had a little leftover button. So this is big enough to say just fit my phone or keys. Like if I were to go on a walk or a hike, I like to walk around my town, or like Saturday morning walking around the farmer's market and the art square in the square. I could do that. This was just fun to make. It was fun to try, and I do think I'm going to make another one in a larger size, so you can see how it hangs with the strap. And this is not the highest quality strap. Like, it's not heavy duty. I mean, it's fine for my purposes, but these are not heavy duty like lobster claw. But I actually think that's best because it makes the bag lighter. And one thing about the t-shirt yarn is, I mean, it can be pretty heavy. If you make a large bag out of this, it's going to be heavier with all your things in it. So this lightweight fastenings, lightweight hardware, lightweight strap, the whole thing is incredibly lightweight, and it would make a good little crossbody bag. So I appreciated Miriam's video tutorial. I always forget how to do magic circle to start something in crochet. I mean, I've done it maybe twice before. I cannot remember. So I put on her video. She gets right to the point. There's not a lot of ums and uhs like I'm doing. And I don't know. This was a lot of fun to make. I recommend it. She has some other patterns that look like fun too. She is Mary Moss on Instagram, and I'm going to have links. But let me show you one of her other bags. It's the Blue Knot handbag. You could find it free. This makes me think of a fun little knitting project bag. And so it's got that pull through type closure, the top. You know, you pull one loop through another. And also just $1.25 on Ravelry. I say, if you get the benefit of the pattern plus a free video showing you how to do it, give her $1.25. Goodness, for this pattern. So that was a really fun make, and though it was actually pretty time consuming, the most time I spent making it was super fast. The most time I spent was like going, oh my gosh, how did I use this much yarn? What will I do? How will I fix this? And then digging up all this other stuff, you know. That took me a while, but now I feel like I have the skills to just bang out one while watching a movie. So with the rest of my yarn, I noticed today that Jane Richmond, I told you she was coming out with a circular crochet rug, and it's a super bulky weight type pattern. I was thinking I would like to do that with my t-shirt yarn, and she did. She came out with it. So here's her picture. I don't know if there we go. And she uses Lion Brand Thick and Quick, which I think everybody has extra balls of that laying around. And you can, this is probably one that you can make any size you want. She has small or medium. And she has a worksheet so you can customize and make larger sizes. But she recommends either a small 4-ball version or a larger 7-ball version. Now, I don't know about you guys. 7 balls of Thick and Quick might be harder to come by. But if you have different colors, you can make a kind of a spiraling striped rug. And that's what I'm thinking of doing. She has 7 here. I'm going to see if anyone did striping. Yes. Yes, they did. I'm not going to show their photos, but different people have. They did. They switched out yarns and they made it striping. So I thought that would be great for all of this t-shirt yarn. And that would just be really fun. That would be a fun thing to have. It would be fun to have in this room where I put all the weird stuff comes into this room. So we have a giant monkey thing that I found it at Goodwill. It's a giant painting of a monkey wearing headphones. And my kids are like, ew, that looks like an NFT. Well, I didn't even know what that was then, but it was just some cheap, probably IKEA type thing. But my husband's like, that's cool, get it. So we have this giant fluorescent green monkey on the wall. So anyway, not to say, oh, Jane's pattern belongs next to the monkey, but if the colors look kind of kooky together, it really works in this room because this room is just very fun. It's got a lot of silly stuff in it. So that's what I think I'll do with the rest of my t-shirt yarn. And that's another thing off the needles or the hook that I plan to do. The other thing that I talked about, I might show a video here of me doing it. I took that striped Eastwood cardigan apart, and it was a real ordeal. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I was like, oh, unknitting stripes will be so satisfying. That should be really easy. No. No, the way I used to do, this was years and years ago, the way I used to do stripes was, and I kind of forgot this, rather than just bring my new yarn around and keep knitting the stripe, I would do a full twist. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, that there would be gapping, or I don't know what I was afraid of. But everything was super secure. And that was such a pain to undo. That was, yeah, not worth it at all. So I suffered through, I dealt with it for the body. And, you know, taking apart the front flaps that were just in, I think, flagstone or cobblestone gray, that was pretty easy to do. I did it on the body, but I had to scream uncle with the sleeves, and I just left them. There was no way. I was going to twist and twist and twist after each color change because it's knit in the round. And so I decided I'm just going to make leg warmers out of these. I have enough of this to make a little ribbing at the top. I can also take some of this length off, but it honestly works as a leg warmer. I mean, it fits. It's weird. It's kind of a weird shape, but it's totally useful. So I've got, what I ended up with was 2 big balls of gray, a small ball of green, 2 sleeves / leg warmers, and 2 pockets, which I actually think I'm going to seam halfway together and then do a finishing edge here and use them to be a glasses holders, like a little case for my glasses. So just kind of like this, and one will go over the other and one side splits open. I have these prism glasses I wear to read at night, so I these glasses drop all the time. You know, when I'm not asleep, they get thrown off the bed, fall off the bedside table. Maybe these little, it's just a little glasses case, or it could be a sunglasses case, but that's what I'm left with. So what I think I'll do with this is make another vest. And I want it to be kind of a, it'll probably have to be cropped because of the amount of yarn I have. I'll do maybe some random striping of the green here and there. And what I thought of was something kind of like the boxy V-neck vest that I knit. I made it into a sweater a while back. Look, this, I wasn't planning on showing this. I have one side of the front done, but it's a vest. And so it'll be like this, go down. Probably I won't use this pattern for this. I think it's going to have to be even more, is diminutive the word, a thinner shoulder kind of strap. I do think I will go down in a regular V for the vest. I could do kind of a U-neck. I'm not sure. I made the aqua tank years ago. Oh, and by the way, on this is Katya Gorbacheva. I have the back done on this vest. I think the front is going to be super easy to finish. Crap, pulled it off the stitches off. I have basically one side almost done to the top. Like I'm finished with the V-neck shaping on one side, so it's about to here. Finish that and do the V-neck shaping up this side, seam the shoulders, the sides, and then ribbing. I could probably finish that in a day, for sure in a weekend. So this is really going to be a very functional piece. And I was thinking I might, because it's a fun, it's gray, but it's got all these fun little colors, tweeds in there. I was thinking of maybe embellishing it with some embroidery. I'm not sure. Don't hold your breath. But I did the aqua tank a long time ago, and that's a summer tank. I did it in cotton, but I did mine to not be, it's supposed to have negative ease. I did it my actual bust size so that it wasn't super fitted, because, you know, I freak out if things are tight against my body in the summer. And I did no waist shaping, so I was kind of a straight fit. And it's actually pretty comfortable to wear in the summer. And I thought if I just went a size up and did something like that with this yarn, I know I have enough to do that, and that would be fine. And it would be just a little added layer to throw over. This is wool. So I feel like I could knit that up really fast because, and you know what Jen suggested about how when she washed her yarn and reskein it and it lost all the little kinks, it was much nicer to deal with. I gotta tell you, Jen, I thought about you, and when I was finished unknitting or frogging that whole sweater, I was just like, screw it. I just don't want to do it. I started to reskein it, and then I was gonna wash it and hang it, you know, from the shower head and let it kind of like lose some of the curl from where it had been wrapped in stitches. And I was just like, forget it. I'll try and deal with it. And if it's terrible, I can always do that. But I'm so lazy. But it's like when I have time to knit, I just want to do it. I don't want to do all that finishing and prep stuff. It's boring. Another vest pattern I thought of that I could eke out with this much yarn, but I decided it's probably not enough, is the Gan vest by Albina McLaughlin. Possibly if I changed the, hopefully that's showing. Let's see, here's a lighter version that might show better. If I were to modify the strap part here over the shoulders, maybe I would have enough, because that's a very loose fit. To me, that's a super practical winter vest. I do want to make one with knitted in yarn, and that would be a real, like a very useful layer when being outside and in the cold. But this is worsted. Knitted in would probably take 2 strands to make. So she probably held 3 together actually for this pattern, but that's another one. I might try it with this yarn. I just hate to get too far through it and then be like, oh, I don't have enough. Whereas I know with that tank that I've made before, or you know what? I mean, let's face it, at this point in my life, I could literally just cast on stitches for the bottom and just do a bottom up tank. I know how to do it. I always use a pattern. I don't have to use a pattern. I know how to do it. I'll probably just fiddle with it and figure something out on my own. But the Gan pattern is a nice, classic, simple layer, vest layer. So I just wanted to mention that one to you guys. And I have links for everything. All right. So this is on its way to being something. That's my point. You guys, I guess, are holding me accountable, sort of. I mean, you totally aren't and you don't care, but in my mind, this is helping me get some things out of the way. What I have that's half done right now, I told you I was working on my Dresden beret. That was a good night day pattern. And I've knit one before. Let me show you what the Dresden beret should look like. What I found when I knit the first one of these that I made a few years ago, I was really barely gonna get through the project with the amount of yarn I had. It was DK or Sport from Junk Yarn, and it just wasn't a lot. It was barely enough to make the project, at least I thought. And it didn't have a lot of the beret type flop, you know what I mean, where it hangs over and flops. This isn't a super, what's the word? It's not an extreme overhang for the beret. I think I want a little more than when I did it the first time. So I've actually added an inch to the body before starting the crown decreases. And that's what I'm hoping I'll have here. This is Tosh Vintage, and the colorway was Mare, based on like the moody, you know, gritty nighttime images of the TV series with Kate Winslet. It's a really pretty dark yarn. I do think that I'm drawn most to, I like greens, and then I like these dark blue and brown type colors. So I'm almost finished. I'm on the crown. I'll finish this tonight, I'm pretty sure. That's one I'm half done with. I was thinking about how I'm trying to use my stash more, and I am using stash more. And I dug up some old stash. Regina, who was the dyer, Herbstblatt Regina, she hasn't been dyeing for years now, but I really liked her yarn, and she had this oak sock base that it's 75-25. I just found it to be like this base and Jinx Yarns, her sport base. I think she called it Strong Sport. I found them to be super durable with some sock projects, and I don't know, I really enjoyed working with them. They just felt really full, you know, they weren't too slippery. I don't know. It might just be in my head, but every pair of socks I knit with Regina's yarn, it was the oak base, and I enjoyed it. And some of the ones I knit was, I did like a Ragnar colorway and the vintage Christmas colorway. And then I did her hydrangea colorway. And I think I used maybe that Vine favorite sock pattern, or maybe I used Smooth Operator. I'm not sure. But that hydrangea colorway, I feel like that's what made her shop kind of blow up. It was such a beautiful colorway. That colorway went crazy online. Someone's knocking on my door. It was the mailman. He's just letting me know something was out there. I don't know what it is. Oh, I know, I do know, because I talked to, well, I'm gonna have to go get it. I don't know. Okay. I'll show you in a minute. I'm doing so good with stash, but yeah, I wanted to make some summer knits. Like, that's what I asked you guys about. So anyway, back to Regina's yarn. So that hydrangea colorway just blew up. and it was so beautiful. Yeah, I love that pair of socks. Has held up really well. You know, I don't wear wool socks as much as some of you may because it isn't cool very often here, but my feet are often cold around my house. But even so, I haven't worn through anything yet since I started knitting socks, and I make enough of them that they don't all get that much wear. So they've held up really well though. But I dug up this, it's her oak sock base. It's Happy Backyard Chicks, and you can see it's a bright sunny, well, it's actually kind of a faded, soft, sunny yellow color with orange that kind of makes me think of sherbet. And there's little speckles of orange and blue and brown. And I just like the Happy Backyard Chicks. It makes me think of my neighbor who has a really sweet chicken coop and yard for her chickens. I really love this neighborhood, you guys. Somebody walks their goat on a leash around the neighborhood. There's a lady who walks her cat in a stroller, and I've seen several people walking cats on the trails around my house. Now, I don't know what they do with loose dogs, because sometimes people do let their dogs run loose, but I found that the dogs in this city are super chill. They're not like my dogs, and they're pretty cool with other animals. They don't get all up in their face. They give them space. They give people space. So anyway, there's a lot of good feels behind this yarn. I pulled this out to finally knit at the Vicarage by Olivia Villarreal, who is This Handmade Life. I think she came out with that pattern like 5 years ago, and she has made so many sock patterns since. But I think it was maybe her first Miss Marple themed sock pattern. And you know, I have never read an Agatha Christie book. So like 5 years ago, I bought Murder at the Vicarage like for $1.99 or something on Kindle on sale. And I was like, well, I may as well do that, you know, read it while I'm knitting the pattern. And I never got around to knitting the pattern. I didn't want to knit it without reading the book. And so the other day I finished the one I was on, which was Sea of Tranquility, and it was all right. And I was like in the middle of the night, and I was like, I gotta have something. Because I told you, you know, I gotta have something to read to get me back to sleep. So I had At the Vicarage, Murder at the Vicarage, in my Kindle, and I started it. And then I had to search for some yarn and show Olivia's pattern here. So this is a toe-up pattern, and normally I don't love toe-up socks because when I get to the cuff, I just never feel like my cuffs look nice and neat where I finish them, where I cast off. But I'm going to see if I can correct that with this pair, because this, this Turkish cast on for the toe is super neat. It is so much better than any of the other ways I close up. I usually do like a rounded closure, like off of the Smooth Operator. It's like one of the modifications. It's like a rounded toe. It's easy, it is, but I inevitably miss one stitch. And then I don't realize it till I've sealed everything up and I'm weaving in the ends, and I say, oh, one stitch, and now it's dropped back like 2 inches. Great. So I have to undo it all and redo it. This was so much easier. So we'll see how my cast off looks at the top, but this is a really pretty pattern. I've been using my sock ruler to work with this. That is from Katrinkle's Knitting Jewelry. She's made it so easy to knit socks for other people, or to know where to start your heel or whatever without having to try it on, because sometimes like you're someplace where you don't want to take your shoe off and take your sock off and put on a half of a sock. So I think this is just really lovely. I hope this is showing up well for you. And I'm having fun reading my first Agatha Christie novel. I really didn't think I would like it, just because if I had read them maybe when I was younger or years ago, but so many, 80s TV shows and whodunits have borrowed from Agatha Christie over the years, I figured that even though if she was the master, right, it's still gonna not have as much of an impact as it would if I hadn't seen all the stuff that's come afterward. It's kind of like, I don't know, there's certain like sci-fi shows you'll watch and my kids are like meh about it. I'm like, you don't understand, this was groundbreaking at the time, but they've seen everything that was built upon it and they're just like meh, whatever. I kind of was afraid I would feel that way about this, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the characters and some of the wordplay, and then probably I'm more interested in seeing the method of how the story develops compared to all the things I know that were based on Agatha Christie, like all those, oh, I used to watch those, like Moonlighting and Remington Steele and you know, Columbo. There's all these detective type shows that have come. I just recently watched Lupin, the new series. You know, they're all based on these types of older novels, and I'm kind of almost more interested in just seeing how it develops in the original stories, the classic ones, more than I am even in finding out who did it, you know? It's been a fun read. It's helping me when I'm wakeful at night. So I'm already starting the heel on this. The gusset has already begun, and it's an easy pattern to get a handle on. I can do it while watching TV. That's fine. So a little plug for Murder at the Vicarage and the At the Vicarage pattern. So that knock at the doorbell was Pearl Soho had a big sale, and they had some cotton yarns, linen type yarns on sale. And I've want to recommit to knitting some more summer knits. We'll see how far I get. I have a few I'm going to talk to you about that I already talked to you about probably 2 years ago. I wanted to knit. I haven't done a lot of cotton or summer knitting. I didn't do a lot of knitting in the last year, really. So I don't know. That makes sense. Because cotton and linen are just harder on my hands. I asked you guys if you do summer knits and what kind of things you are making, and I wanted to run through some of the things you said. Karen, who is Casuarina, and that is, I hope I'm saying that right, that's where she's from. She said she's also in a warm climate, but she does a lot of knits. She'll use like singlets or make light summer tops with like rayon or linen cones. Like she has cones of yarn from her job. And I actually do have a few cones of rayon cotton blend that I got discounted somewhere, and there's probably 1,000 yards on those, and that's what I want to use for some of these knits I'm going to talk to you about. But she says she often does shawls, because kind of like a lightweight sweater, you can throw it on if you go into a place that's cold in the summer and then pull it off when you get outside. And also she mentioned out of like type home DIY or tour type shows, she likes Australia's Grand Designs. I've never watched that, but I've heard about it. And she said that she thinks there are, you know, there's maybe an American version of Grand Designs or an English version. So they'll show projects in your home from beginning to end, and those are always fun. So I'm going to look that up, Karen. And then Lori is also in, like, she's living in the Southwest and definitely makes summer knits. She's finishing up her campfire blanket scarf. Campfire blanket shawl, that's what it's called. I can never remember, but it's that huge, I showed it to you, that huge shawl that could really be a throw or a blanket. Like, it can totally cover me like an Afghan from here to my feet if I were watching TV or something. She's just finishing that and getting it out of the way before the heat because it's in wool. She knits lots of socks in the summer and plant fiber cardigans. She was wanting to make a summer weight featherweight. That's a really good sweater to throw on over something in the summer. Or a sakasama jacket. Sakasama I hadn't heard of, but she thought, you know, for restaurants or maybe cold places that she would go into with air conditioning, that would be a good option. And I looked the Sakasama up for you guys. It's an Olga jazzy pattern. And so it does have that feel of like the featherweight, you know. It's not a full sweater. It's not like it's open front, cropped kind of. There's just a lot of airflow happening. That's a good idea for a summer knit. And then she's planning to knit some hats for hiking when it's cold. I wonder though, Lori, have you ever made a hat for in the summer? Like Lion Brand has some patterns out with their rewind yarn, and I think it's Jess of the Make and Do crew. I think they have kits for a hat, and it's like a brimmed hat. It looks like, you know, something you would wear to the beach, a wide brim hat. I wonder if you've ever made some kind of bucket hat that was lightweight and summer weight for, I don't know, staying out of the sun, for gardening or walking or hiking, whatever. That's something I think would be fun to do. I haven't done it. I have the same old, like really wide brimmed hiking hat that I've used for like every one of our family road trips. It's like 20 years old now, really ragged, and I wear it all the time and I just love it so. But it would be nice to have something that's not quite so grungy. And she's considering, like, would like to crochet some summer things, but, you know, isn't proficient in crochet. And Lori, all I can say is these types of patterns that have a YouTube tutorial with them, I thought I wouldn't enjoy it because I thought it might take a while to get into the meat of it, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot easier than fumbling, looking for different tutorial videos, or even flipping through my Happy Hooker book. I enjoyed Miriam's, who is Miri Moss on Instagram. I enjoyed her free tutorial, and one of the patterns I wanted to talk to you guys about has that. Catherine doesn't really do summer knits as much, but it's just kind of so-so. It's not super hot where she lives in the summer. And she likes to use wool more than plant-based fibers, which I do too. That is why I make big plans for summer knits, and then I knit one and like my hand is all cramped up and I'm like, no more. And I go back to sweaters, but I really need to get over that. And I also thought if I can go between a knit and a crochet project, maybe it'll kind of work different muscles in my wrists and hands and it won't tire me out as much. I also could try going from English style to continental style knitting too. Oh, and Rita liked the idea of stuffing the sweater and making the sweater itself like the pillow cover, just in the sweater shape. So I'm gonna play around with that and see what I want to do. I think I'm more interested in the fun of it than like a profesh look. So let me talk to you about some of the things I looked up that I would like. And one of them I saw today. I don't know if I'll make this, and I'm going to show you like 10 patterns. Let's be realistic. I'll be lucky if I make 2 before the summer's out. I have yarn for 3 of them, I think. So that's probably the 3 or 4 I will make. Timberwood by Knits and Knots. I just saw that out today. And if I get this actually uploaded tonight or tomorrow, the sale at Lion Brand might still be going, and it's like, I don't know, ridiculous. $15, $20 kits, 35% off, basically. It's like a $20 kit for her tank top, but it's right here. This is the Timberwood tank. I really like the vertical ribbing look of that and the shaping. I like the neck. It's a slight heart, and it has kind of a halter look to it. Just really neat. I wondered what new things would be introduced this summer because a lot was done. A lot of tank tops came out. A lot looked very similar last year, and I wondered who's going to innovate how. I feel like this is a nice innovation. It's got a lot of the shaping of some of the cups, like for camisole type tops, but it's carried on up. I just think it's really really nice. And this is kind of a fitted tank. So the kits, though, are for what she knitted in, which is Lion Brand's LB Collection Superwash Merino, and there is no way I would wear that in merino. So if I were to do it, I would probably use a cone that, like I was saying, Karen said she would use this like cones of rayon or cotton yarn. I would probably use one of those cones of like a gray or a green, just simple cotton rayon blend. This is a DK weight pattern. So I figure a sport or a DK, but I believe I do have DK. So that's nice. And then here's something I definitely do have the yarn for. I'll have to dig it up, but I know I have some ash. Sorry for the, I have some Lindy Chain in ash, this color. I only have one of these, but I have more in my stash. And that would be the main body of this Nomad tee. I'm going to show it to you. And then these would be my other contrasting colors, just a black and mist, which is sort of a silvery gray. This is the Nomad tee by Rachel Ilse. I just love the look of this. And there's a lot of ease. It's a low V. It looks comfortable. And I believe knit and Lindy Chain, I could actually wear this in the summer and not be like, you know, like total sweat rings and gross, you know, in it. The Lindy Chain is very lightweight. I found everything I've made with it, I've been really comfortable in the heat. Now, where I live here is not as humid, so it actually gets hotter, but it doesn't feel as hot as where I used to live. So we'll see how that works this summer. Let me see. Unwind Knitwear is her name on Instagram, but it's Rachel Ilsley, and yeah, so where she has the medium blue color, that's where I would have, and that's a tonal color, which is really pretty, the tonal look. I would have this gray, and then these would be my other two contrasting colors. So it would be a very neutral top. But I feel like it'd be very wearable in lots of situations. So I do want to make the Nomad tee. I do think that's going to happen. And then somewhere I have some Lion Brand Kobu that I got to be one, like 4 patterns came out for True Boo or Kobu yarn, about the same amount. And so I just got some Kobu to use for any of them, but this was one of them. This Sweet Pea top by Rachel Missner. I have some Kobu I could use for this, or True Boo. I don't remember which it is. And that's another one I would like. I like that open V-neck, and I might even want mine to have a little more positive ease than hers has. So this raw tee by Lone Jeltsin. Not sure if I'm saying that right. This just looks like a fun, basic tee, but something I could knit. Now that might make it a bit heavier than if I were to buy a little oversized tee like this, but I really like that raw looking hem. So I have Lindy Chain and Turmeric to make it, and I think this will be a fun project. I haven't really looked at it. Oh, yeah, there are no photos of anyone who has tried it, but I like it. I like the almost sweatshirt type look at the neck and at the hem. And so that's one I definitely would like to do this summer. 4/4, that came out in Pom Pom issue 36, so like 2021. I really wanted to do it, and I have some Touch of Linen that I think will work in these 4 colors. And so the whole top is made in 4 colors, and you wrap it around. So that's the thing. It's really neat looking. And like if I were, when I'm in an environment with air conditioning, I would totally be comfortable wearing this. I just, at this point in my life, I'm outside a lot and I'm in and out a lot, and I just wasn't super motivated to do it because I guess I didn't feel the need to wear it. This is from the back. You can see the 4 colorways working together. This was such a good issue of Pom Pom. Here's the front, and it's got a V-neck look with a tie front. And that's how the sweater really looks. And so 4/4 was made by Julie Robinson. And I was thinking for my 4 colors, they're not that different from the ones in the pattern, but these are Touch of Linen from Lion Brand. So we've got Stone, Fog, Clay, and Merlot. That's one I definitely want to do because I have the yarn for it. And that's older stash. But you know, all the older stash was new stash at one time, and I really need to use that. So this Pearl Soho, Buttercup Cotton, Grass Green, this Moonset Tee or something similar by Ozetta, which is Haley Smedley. It's just a classic tee shape, but that is what I've been feeling missing in my wardrobe in the summer. It's just a classic tee with a lot of ease, a lot of room. I had some for a while, but things get ratty or messed up or ripped or whatever. And I told you I've been wearing like my husband and my son's t-shirts quite a bit. And yeah, I can go out and hike and work out and stuff in them, and I don't feel bad about it. I wouldn't do that with this, but it would be nice to have that comfortable feel in something I made and would want to be seen in public. Of course, I'm wearing one literally for a podcast, whatever. So anyway, bright, fun summer color. The other Pearl Soho yarn that I got, and these were really, the sale, I don't think it's still going, but it made these like better than hobby store prices, like to me, better than Joann prices. The other thing is, it's between two things. So this is Pearl Soho's 100% rayon from bamboo burnish yarn. This is a beautiful, I think it's called Midnight Blue. Yeah. And so it's kind of a navy. Really soft, really fine feeling. This is a sport weight yarn. Boy, it doesn't look sport weight, but it is a sport weight yarn. The patterns I'm looking at, one is a DK weight, and it is another one of those like tutorial patterns. Carrie Chambers, she'll have videos showing you how to do it. And so like Lori, you were talking about wanting to branch into crochet. Me too, a little nervous about it. I thought if I made something that was meant to have a lot of positive ease, and if it had a little too much or a little too less, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So one of those kind of summer tops, like some sort of maybe lace mesh, that would be good. And also Carrie's pattern here, she has a video tutorial, I think, with a lot of her patterns, and I think that might be the case. So this is her V-necked rib sweater. This is a long sleeve sweater, but I wouldn't do it long sleeve. I would make it into a tee. I just like that casual V-neck. So something like this, that would be fun to do. That calls for DK weight yarn, but I would do it in sport, a little more airy if I do that. Another one that I like, but I'm wondering if it would just feel too warm, is Wild West by Anna and Heidi Pickles. This is the Ravelry photo. I really love the fit on that. Now it has that textured look of, like a wool vest. Like it wouldn't be comfortable if it were in wool. It makes me think, ugh, too hot. And that was knit in alpaca and wool, but I'm wondering if that could be done. It calls for fingering weight. I'm wondering if that could be done in cotton and not be too, you know, because it's got a bit of a boxy fit. It maybe wouldn't be too overwhelming in the summer. So I'm just sounding like a broken record here, talking about heat and constriction and stuff like that. Here is one more, Mountainburg. This is something I had yarn for, I think I still do. Plum colored Lindy Chain. I don't have it with me. I'll have to dig it up and see. I may have used it on another knit a while back, but this is from Samantha Stadter. And again, this is just one of those throw over tops, which kind of makes me think of that Saka, what was it? I don't remember. The cardigan Lori was wanting to make. That looks like an easy throw over thing. And that's on Ravelry. So, and that's it's a $2 pattern. It's a really affordable pattern. And I don't know, she's got quite a few projects that have been made in it with different fits. I mean, there are people who have made it with a lot of positive ease. It's super flowy and almost like a poncho, but very lightweight. Others who have made it more t-shirt-like. I encourage you, I'm going to have links to these. I encourage you to look that up. That looks like a really fun make. And it seems like something, she's got very open sides on that, which again, airflow, you wouldn't have to do that if you didn't want to. It seems like it would be easy to modify. I definitely want to make that. The more I look at it, the more that looks like something I would want to wear this summer. So, all right, I think that's all I've got for you guys. Isn't that enough though? Oh yeah, one more. I kind of went back and I saw that Pom Pom quarterlies, they're kind of revamping, or they're gonna have a larger format magazine, and it was time to renew my subscription. And so I started going back and reading the old ones again. And a while back, I tracked down all of the issues. And this was issue 2. The cover photo is that Abuelita. And it's a mesh crochet top. And that looks like it would be a good one to do with, wouldn't take a ton of yarn. It was lace weight yarn that it called for. I know I have some thread weight or lace weight summer yarn somewhere in the yarn closet. And I looked at the fit on the project. See, like, I probably would alter this fit a little for me. I just think that I would. I don't mind that open neck at all, but I'm not sure about the cap sleeves. And I think this is a bit more, this is not as much ease in the body as I personally would like. So I looked online to see how other people had done it, and they're older projects, because this is from like 2012. This is 10 years old. But anyway, it was fun going back and rereading through Pom Pom, and I thought, you know what I ought to do is I ought to have a goal to make some patterns out of Pom Pom. Like, try and do a few every year. You know, I have all of these magazines and I've knit so few Pom Pom patterns, but I love so many of them. And I showed you a couple just in these summer knits. I have so many of the summer knits in particular queued on my Ravelry queue, because they've really always had really good summer knits. I feel like they just stood out, and I need to go ahead and make that happen. So anyway, Abuelita looks like it would be fun, and it also looks like it would be a quick crochet project that I could modify as I work. So that's another one I'm thinking about. Especially if I do want to go back and knit something out of every Pom Pom, that would be the one out of this magazine I think I would want to make. It's like a great shame, you know, not really, but you know, that I have all these Pom Pom magazines and I haven't knit enough out of them. And then I just keep looking at more new patterns. Do you have any of those older patterns or pattern sources that you feel almost sentimental about now and you would like to revisit, kind of like I want to do some of the Pom Pom knits, especially the summer knits? let me know. I want to jump down that rabbit hole with you. All right. I hope you guys have a really good week or two. I don't know how long it'll take before I make another episode, but please ask some questions. Give me some suggestions. I'm going to talk a lot about, I'm just going to go through real quick all the socks, mostly smooth operator socks I made in the next episode. And then I'm going to show you progress on a summer knit.